We are here. We are live. The Toronto Raptors are winners of four straight, and it's not national news. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. But I got to tell you, I'm going to approach this with a little bit of a different energy today. First of all, shout outs to every single person who was with us in playback. I apologize in advance if that gave you a headache. It took a year off my life for sure. Annoying as hell. My only goal when we went into playback was it's me and Jordan. I don't expect everybody else to show up. It's me and Jordan. We're going to talk straight hoops because me and Jordan are junkies, basketball junkies. And all we wanted to do was talk hoops. And then we got a whole bunch of clowns up there. And then, of course, we have to talk about clown business. But now we're not talking about clown business. We're going to talk straight hoops today because this is my show. And we're talking straight hoops today. And we're talking Toronto Raptors versus Philadelphia 76ers. Whew. The Raptors versus the Sixers. Sweep, season sweep. To all the people who say that Darko Rajakovic can't coach, I mean, I think it's worth noting that the Raptors just swept the Philadelphia 76ers, and you're not victory lapping because you're rooting for lottery balls. But I will say something. I am coming off of a night of binge watching a show that most of you have probably already watched, which is The Last Dance. And The Last Dance is something that I've avoided watching since the pandemic. Why have I avoided watching it? Because somebody told me that it was very, very unflattering to Scottie Pippen, that it painted him in a very bad light. And I thought, this is more Jordan being petty. I'm not going to watch it. But I ended up watching episodes 1 through 3 yesterday. And I got to tell you, I started thinking a lot about Scottie Barnes. I started thinking about the implications of tanking. I thought a lot about how winners are made. And yeah, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about what the Raptors are doing here because you know what? We had 4 rookies tonight in double digits. You had Jamal Shed, who hit double digits. You had Jamison Battle, who hit double digits. You had Jonathan Mobo, who hit double digits. And you had Jacoby Walter, who hit double digits. And they're all showing these incredible, this little incremental growth, like in their footwork, in their step back, in their gathers. And it's like, if you're just watching the box score, if you're watching these games with one eye on the box score, one eye on your parlay, talking to somebody, you're just missing all of this. But all of this is setting up a foundation for what the Raptors want to do next year, which is they want to win. And I got to tell you, there's a reason why teams like the Washington Wizards and the Detroit Pistons for the last 5 years have just been in the lottery over and over and over again, because losing breeds losing. So how do you breed winning while losing? Well, you go out there completely outmatched every night. You go out in games you're supposed to lose, and then you lose them by less than you're supposed to lose them by. There's actually numbers to back this up. Do you know that the Toronto Raptors, and I don't like to talk about sports betting on this channel. Y'all know I'll never, ever, ever be a sellout for sports betting. And I say it every single time just so everybody knows that anytime I bring up anything related to sports betting, that I am not advocating for sports betting. Did you know that the Raptors are the best team in the league against the spread? So I do look it up because, every single time I look at the preview, it's like the Raptors are 10-point underdogs. And what do you know? They lose by 2. Oh, the Raptors are, 7-point favorites, and then they win by 15. They beat the spread almost every night. They've been doing it right since the beginning of the season. This is not about March. This is not about January. This is every single game. It feels like the Raptors just beat the odds. And if you want to talk about progress, how do you measure progress? Well, let me ask you a question. If I told you that I faced LeBron James one-on-one and the score was 21-1, I think we would call that a big accomplishment for me. To score 1 point on LeBron James is a really big deal because the expected outcome was 21-0. So when the Toronto Raptors go out there and then they beat the Boston Celtics, and they're not supposed to, and they're very, very competitive against the Denver Nuggets, you see 1-1. I see 2 wins. It's very different. I don't want to get all over the place. So let me gather my thoughts here. Let's talk about this game. We'll do a very, very interesting film breakdown because there's a lot to talk about in that. There's a lot of interesting plays that I think point to some of the development that I'm talking about. But this was not close. RJ Barrett comes out on fire, hitting threes. He got his 31 points tonight, and it was not inefficient at all. 12 for 22. In 29 minutes, he scored 31 points. It was a plus 19. Great. Jakob Poeltl and Emmanuel Quickley get the rest. This is what the Raptors have been doing for the last month and a bit. You know, it's either Emmanuel Quickley and Jakob Poeltl, or it's RJ Barrett. And it's like one or the other, rest, rest, rest. And, there is a method to this madness, and we're going to talk about that later too. We're going to talk about why the Raptors might be doing it this way. And it's actually stealthy, kind of smart. And we'll talk about that. I'm gonna write this down just so I don't forget to talk about it. But we're gonna call it asset growth, because ultimately all these players, as much as you may love them as players, they are assets. And these assets might be on the move this summer. And it really does matter that RJ Barrett, raises those efficiency numbers, raises those stats, raises his box plus minus. It matters that, Emmanuel Quickley is now a 2.1 box plus minus as opposed to a 1.1 or a 0.6, which is where he was earlier. These things matter, and they're going to matter a lot this summer. So overall, great game for RJ Barrett. Very efficient. Got stuffed a few times at the rim. The Sixers have a little bit of length in there with Adem Bona, who Matt Devlin hilariously called Adem Boner, which I thought was hilarious. But then I realized I'm 37 years old and I need to grow the hell up. Scottie Barnes, tough shooting night, right? 4 for 12, missed both his 3-pointers, split the pair of free throws at the line. Not a huge assist night for him. Usually when Emmanuel Quickley doesn't play, he usually plays a lot more point. Tonight it was more Jamal Shed, RJ Barrett run the show. Scottie played more connector. He wasn't particularly assertive, but defensively he was who he's been. Quarterbacking the defense, talking, pushing the break, dictating tempo. Overall, decent game. I love this game for Jacoby Walter. Loved it. There were so many positive plays. There was even some point guard play there, which is really cool. Look at his stat line. I mean, I know 34 minutes. He led the team in minutes, but 17 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 3 steals. Did he ball or what? I loved it. I really like this game from Jacoby, and we're going to look at some Jacoby plays that really stood out. Cole Swider, 18 minutes, 8 points. Does his jump shot have a hitch, or is that just me? That might just be me. Jamison Battle, 16 points, plus 16 off the bench in 25 minutes, 7 rebounds, and assist. I am really impressed with Jamison Battle. I'll remind you, undrafted. And this guy's doing this for you. That's a pop. And Jonathan Mobile, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, 1 particularly ugly turnover. He had some good moments. He had some tough moments. And Ochai Agbaji, of course, 9 points off the bench. For the Sixers, we had 23 points from Lonnie Walker. We did not get a Quentin Grimes masterclass because Quentin Grimes decided not to play. And Kelly Oubre didn't play. And Gershon Yabusele, who was a game time decision, he didn't play. And so the Sixers basically let you know that right away, we don't care. We're not even coming close to letting you guys try to win this game. You played a G League team tonight. Let's be clear. You got a G League team tonight. Ricky Council, Lonnie Walker, Jared Butler, Adem Bona, and Justin Edwards is as G League. This is the worst roster. Jalen Hood-Schifino, this is the worst roster in the NBA, bar none. Nobody is losing to this team ever. If the Raptors really wanted to, they probably could have beat this team by 60, 70, 80, 90. Instead, what they did, and I appreciate Scottie for doing this in a contract year. Really, it's a contract year because, obviously not really that all NBA is on the line, but he definitely could try to stat pad against a team like this. He sees the message. He sees that at some point next year, he's going to need his younger teammates to be better players. And I'm not trying to excuse 4 for 12, but if you really think that Scottie Barnes couldn't score more than 25 points or 20 points or 9 points or whatever, if you think he tried his best, he just went up there, he's like, I'm going to score as many points as I can, and he went up with 9 points against the G League team, you're crazy. You need to understand where Scottie approaches the game from. And I can tell you that some people have issues with it, and I'm going to raise an issue with it towards the end. It's going to be one more of those, hey, Scottie Barnes, I'm talking to you, directive points. But I think this one's going to hit home. And I really, really hope someone sends it to him, because I know I have a lot of friends who know him. I hope that somebody sends it to him. I really do, because I think I'm going to talk straight. I think I'm going to talk straight. I think I'm going to make a lot of sense. Anyways, Jalen Hood-Schifino slowly trying to revive his career, 18 points. There's not a lot to talk about in terms of the results, because the results were as obvious as it comes. I don't know how the Raptors were 6-point, favorites in this game. I'll never understand that. 6-point favorites. I was just looking at that. I was like, what? 6-point favorites? They could blow the team up by 50. I don't think they're giving appropriate respect to how the Raptors are approaching this whole tanking process. And I do think that it's worth noting that, the Raptors pretty much allowed the Sixers to shoot 47% for the field, but the Raptors just shot so much better from three, 17 for 38. And a lot of that was, of course, anchored by Jamison Battle, Jacoby Walter, RJ Barrett doing so well. Raptors missed a bunch of free throws at the line. They dead even on the rebounds, which is, pretty good given the fact that you were slightly smaller team, a little less athletic. Adem Bona versus, Orlando Robinson is really a scrub fest, but Adem Bona is a hell of a rebounder. And, you end up getting 13 offensive rebounds. And that's just pure hustle. That's just pure hustle. That's just wanting it. You do crack the 30 assist mark, which I love. I always love it. You are almost dead even on the stocks battle, which I like. And you managed to take care of the ball a little bit better. And, with Jamal Shed, it's always a little bit of a herky-jerky thing. You played a little bit of Jacoby Walter at point. You got a little Scottie Barnes point guard action. You got a little bit of RJ Barrett point guard. So, like you're playing without your lead initiator. You get more paint points. Your largest lead is 22. You basically blow this game open. They came out in the third quarter and they just blew this game open. I know it got back to close to 10, but it was never particularly close. The Raptors came out in the third quarter, business, and boom, boom, boom. It was right there. This game was pretty much over. If you want to take a look at that stretch that I'm describing, it's right here. The Raptors go into the half 63-49. And then within short order, it was 72-53. We talk about it all the time, closing quarters, starting quarters. The Raptors started the third quarter saying, we're not losing this game. And again, you can disagree. You can disagree all you want. But I'll tell you that muscle memory, habits, we all talk about losing habits. Oh, this player's been in a losing situation for a while. They got to break a lot of losing habits. Well, what's the inverse of losing habits? Winning habits. And winning habits are moving the basketball, passing up a good shot for a great shot, diving for loose balls, crashing the offensive glass, communicating defensively, sitting in the gaps, knowing your assignment, knowing your scouting report, managing your shot selection, managing the clock. Understanding these things is something that is a hallmark of good teams. All good teams do this thing. Consistency, finding a baseline or a floor for how poorly are we willing to play on a night-to-night basis. Now, I credit the hell out of the Detroit Pistons for how well they play defensively because that travels. The Raptors have been playing much better defensively. And again, 109 points in a really breakneck pace game where you allowed them to shoot for 47%. No one is considering this a defensive masterclass by any means. But they played the better defense considerably. They played the better defense, right? And Toronto 6-3-9-3, correct, effort. It does come down to effort. And you know what? Like, you think you can just turn it on and off, but with these young players, it really does matter that you start instilling the good habits. Now, I will talk about The Last Dance for a minute because I got to talk about this, man. I'll tell you, first of all, we're going to get into the film breakdown right after, okay? But I just got to do a little bit of sidebar here. Give me one sec. So the reason that I watched The Last Dance is because one of my favorite prep prospects, AJ Debonsa, was on the show with Stephen A. Smith when he was talking about why he chose to go to BYU. And he made this case that he used to say that LeBron was the GOAT, but then he watched The Last Dance and then he realized Michael was the GOAT. And I was like, damn, if it can convert a 16-year-old to thinking LeBron's not the GOAT, I got to watch this. So I started watching it. And it was all about how Michael came into Chicago, this losing situation, and promised to turn it around, and how they did it step by step. It started with, obviously the practices. They changed the practices. They changed the culture. They changed the coaching staff. They changed everything. But then there was a season where he got hurt, and they put him on a minutes restriction of 7 minutes per half. So 14 minutes a game. And in those 14 minutes, he would ball out. And then there was this one game where it was like 30 seconds left in the game, and it was a tie game, and it was basically like to get them to the playoffs or not. And he had already clipped his 14-minute restriction. And apparently, according to Jerry Reinsdorf and Jerry Krause, the two Jerrys in charge, so the general manager and the owner of the Chicago Bulls, there was a 10% chance that potentially if Michael Jordan re-injured himself, that his career could be over. So they gave him this entire thing of like, hey, you're not going to play because we're worried about your injury. But Michael kind of sniffed out the bullshit and he said, I think they're making me not play because they want lottery balls. I think they're trying to tank. So tanking has been a really big deal. Even in the 80s, tanking was a deal, right? And the Bulls made the playoffs. And they had a losing record. I think they had 30 wins. And they ended up going up against the Boston Celtics. And it resulted in, one of the most memorable games in Michael Jordan's life. And again, they didn't win that game. But could you imagine what that did for Michael's confidence? And so I started thinking about Michael Jordan a lot, because as much as you might think that it was always a sure thing that Michael was going to be the greatest player of all time or that he was going to be amazing, in fact, mostly every single general manager, smart people back then, didn't even believe he would be the best player in his class. They didn't even believe he'd be the second best player in his class. In fact, nobody thought he would ever be a champion. People thought he was selfish, that he was a ball hog. And frankly, they thought that there was no way that a 6'6" guard could ever lead you to championships, much less one championship, two championships, three championships, six championships, the greatest player of all time. But hear Michael tell it, and I do believe this is an accurate retelling, it felt like every step was another brick in the house that he was building of self-confidence. That shot that he hit for North Carolina, the one that he talked about, which resulted in them winning the national championship. That shot, nobody wanted him to take it. He wasn't a good shooter. Michael was not a good shooter. But knowing that he had propelled the Tar Heels to the national championship and ultimately had hit the game winner boosted his confidence. He talked about being intimidated when he walked into the Bulls practice. Didn't know, he said, I didn't have a voice. And within a couple of weeks, it was the same thing with the Tar Heels. He walked on to practice. There was already James Worthy there. And James Worthy said, yeah, I was better than him for about 2 weeks. It got me thinking about Scottie Barnes. Now, of course, Scottie Barnes is a far cry from Michael Jordan. But I do think that the same thing that sort of drove Michael, maybe not to the same extent, maybe not to the same visual representation, it's that Scottie's a dog. Scottie is not afraid of anybody. We've seen Scottie snarl at LeBron James. We've seen him rip the ball from Kevin Durant. We've seen him put up big numbers against these big stars. He's obviously not afraid at the moment. We've seen him put up a big playoff performance. We've seen him show up in those big moments. This is a guy who's consistently trying to go. With Scottie, it's not him against the Sixers. It's him versus himself. He's challenged himself this year to be a better leader, to be a better communicator, to be a better defender. Maybe next year it'll come down to something else. But I think that, some people say, Rob, why are we gassing this whole Scottie superstar thing? Because I believe in a sociological concept called the self-looking glass. I believe in this very much. I believe that how people see us reflects very much in how we start to see ourselves, that the reality that we are looking at becomes a matter of making consistency, right? If everybody talks to you like you're stupid, which happens, unfortunately, to some people in this world for one reason or another, maybe they have a lazy eye, maybe they have a stutter, people start to expect less of you. And suddenly, as people start to expect less of you, you start to expect less of yourself. It is very important to me that Scottie has a coach who sees him like he could be the face of the league. That's very important to me, that he's around that guy. It's very important to me that he has a trainer that thinks he can be the best player in the world. That's very important to me. It's important to me that he has people around him that love him and support him regardless of what he becomes or what he does, or if he scores 8 points or 80 points. But it's important to me that he has teammates who look at him like he's the leader. Because you find out who people are only in relation to what you expect of them. If I ask you to lead a team, right, I'm going to find out if you're a leader. So the Raptors have just created a situation now, right? And this is interesting because when Michael came to the Bulls, he didn't go to the Celtics where he's little dog and he's coming off the bench. He didn't go to the Lakers where he's fourth option. He didn't do that. He went to a team that was starving for a leader, starving for direction. He went to a city that was starving for something to root for. And he put up some big performances and they said, you are the one. You are the guy. And then Michael Jordan said, I guess I'm the guy. Everyone's saying I'm the guy. Everyone's looking at me like I'm the guy. I'm scoring like I'm the guy. Maybe I am the guy. Well, now look at Scottie Barnes' situation. He comes into Toronto. It's the same thing with Vince Carter. If you really think about it, Vince came in and boom, he was the man day one, option number one. He was on a very defensively oriented team that lacked elite scores. He didn't walk in day one and he was like second option to Grant Hill. Had he walked in second option to Grant Hill, he would have developed differently. Scottie Barnes came in and they said, bro, sit back. Your fifth option, you're Draymond Green. He won Rookie of the Year anyway. Next year, we come in and you're taking a backseat to people chasing contracts. So you can consider 2 years of that, potential alpha score, stuff that was kind of delayed or maybe screwed up a little bit. The Raptors realized this, thank God, because I cried about it and bitched about it for, like 100 lives that year, that Scottie's development is being screwed up. Scottie's development is being screwed up. Last year, they turned the focus over to him. Even with Pascal here, the writing is on the wall. They pulled the extension off from Pascal. They bring in RJ. They bring in, quickly. They get rid of OG. They tear this whole thing down. And it's with 3 main things in mind. Number one, it's really difficult for Pascal Siakam to see Scottie Barnes as his leader. That's going to be a really hard sell. It would probably be hard for Fred VanVleet to do that either, because there's a pecking order, seniority. I was an all-star. You're not an all-star. I want a championship here. You're not a championship here. From a mentality standpoint, it's very important that you have teammates that look to you as their leader. It's very important. If you understand what I'm saying, you get it. If you don't understand, you're thinking I'm crazy and you think I'm just yapping. I'm not yapping. It's very true. I'll bring myself up later because leadership was something that I had to figure out myself, but I'll put it this way. You develop more as a leader when people around you see you as a leader, because it is the self-looking glass element. You test yourself, you see, because you're consistently put into these moments and you have nowhere to defer the puck. See, right now, Scottie Barnes can't say it's because Fred VanVleet's not doing this or Pascal's not doing this or so-and-so is not doing this. You're the highest paid player. You're the guy who's introduced last. You're the man. You are the man. You are the one that they say they're building this around. You are the one that your coach is saying he's going to be the face of the league. You are the one that is the all-star. You are the one playing every single night. You are the one that they traded all these players away from. You are the one that they held out of Kevin Durant talks. You are the one. You're the man. You may not identify as the man. I mean, shit, 5 years ago, Scottie Barnes in the gym. And what was the story that David Thorpe told 5 years ago? They wanted him to score 30 points in an open gym, and he asked the question, do assists count as points? This is obviously not Michael Jordan. This is obviously not John Morant. This is not Devin Booker. This is not that type of player. It's not wired that way. He's not wired like, oh, I'm going to go out and get 50. Interestingly enough, AJ DeBonsa, Cooper Flagg, the prohibitive, favorites to go number one, are, while bigger scorers at their level right now, kind of wired the same way. I'm happier when everybody eats. But you can be the best player and take 14 shots. You can totally do that. Obviously, I don't want Scottie to take 14 shots. I want him to take 40 shots. But this is going to be a work in progress. You're going to have to build up to this. And we looked at the numbers yesterday, and the numbers are trending in the right direction. It is, of course, trending in the right direction for Scottie. We've seen him go from 17 to 20 to 22 to 24. Can we get to 26 field goal attempts per 100 possessions next year? Can we get to 30? It's going to be so important for him that Brandon Ingram tell him, you're the guy. It's such a big vote of confidence. You got to look at this from Scottie's perspective. View it from his lens for a second. RJ Barrett was the best player in high school basketball when Scottie Barnes was still trying to rise up. Now, Scottie was a 5-star recruit, but RJ Barrett was literally the number 1 ranked player in the country. Number 1. Okay. He was a top 3 pick. Scottie was a top 4 pick, albeit some people think they reached. RJ was a much bigger deal in high school. RJ led Montverde the way Cade led Montverde. Like, he was big dog. Okay. So when RJ Barrett says this is the most selfless superstar in the league, did y'all catch that little Vince Carter anecdote? The thing that he dropped? I think Scottie Barnes can be like Nikola Jokic. He can stuff the stat sheet. He can get triple doubles. Like, he said it. It's not the first time someone's made that comparison. totally divided. Darko Rajakovic also said the same thing. The scoring will come. It will come. We will get there. Masai Ujiri talked about it. He said, he's not quite the bucket getter or scorer right now, but it will come. These things will come. What needs to change, of course, is the on-off switch with Scottie. And this is where I'll say, this is where watching The Last Dance was a little bit inspirational for me. Now, I used to hear stories about Michael Jordan's psychotic compete level. Like he wanted to kill his opponents. He played every single game like it was his last game. Scottie Barnes does not play every single game like it's his last game. Scottie Barnes does not play every possession like it's his last possession. Scottie Barnes does not approach, forget about the work, because I'm not talking about the work. He does not approach the game the way megastars approach the game. And that is a fact. Okay? Soft. Come on now. BI will take Scottie's food. BI is not here to take Scottie's food. Brandon Ingram is a very selfless person. He is a bucket getter, but he is a very selfless person. He never tried to take Zion's food. He's not trying to take anybody's food. He thinks he can be an all-star. Okay? Like, Brandon Ingram is coming here to be an ancillary piece on a team which is built around Scottie Barnes. Trust me, he didn't come here and say, I'm the max guy. If that was his goal, I'll tell you one thing. He would not have agreed to take a contract that is less than Scottie Barnes. He's on his third NBA contract. Scottie's on his second contract. He agreed to a contract that is exactly less than Scottie so that Scottie could still be the top paid player on the team. Consider the optics of this. Think about it from Brandon's perspective. They talked to his agent and they talked to his team before they traded for him. Believe me, he understands where he sits in this pecking order, and he is not here to take anybody's food. That's what you think. That's what some casual fans think. That's not what's real. That's not the reality. Brandon is here to help Scottie, just like RJ is here to help Scottie. IQ is here to help Scottie. Darko is here to help Scottie, because the Raptors really do think they have one of them ones. But in order for that one to become the one, capital, the one, the man, him, capital HIM, the focus needs to change. Now, this is where I said I'm going to talk straight to Scottie Barnes. You need to be a killer. Now, I don't mean to have like some sort of weird parasocial relationship here where I'm talking to someone who's not listening. So I want to say this just specifically as a fan. Obviously, I'm not your friend. Been following your game since you were 16 years old. We know some of the same people. What I'll say is that the approach that a killer, like a dog, has is that anytime somebody comes to see me play might be the last time they see me play. Think about the 20,000 people who watched you play at Scotiabank when you put up 8 points, 9 points. Think about the people who watch you on those Twitch streams. Think about those people on those lowlights, and think about those people on X, and think about all those people. Think about the people who watch you play tonight in Philly. They heard Scottie Barnes an all-star. You put up 9 points. That cannot be. It's simply not becoming of a star. The problem with players like Scottie, and frankly, players like Cooper and players like this in general, players like, you'll see this issue pop up sometimes with Cam Boozer, Caden Boozer. You might even sometimes see this problem pop up with AJ Devonsa. Is the truth is they are deeply collaborative people. They've played with really good players. With all these USA Select teams, McDonald's All-American teams, stacked prep teams like Montverde, you can coast. You could have 12 points, 14 points. Even with FSU, the limited minutes and the minutes distribution, you just wanted to be one of the guys. When you came to Toronto, you were kind of one of the guys. I think for Scottie Barnes, you need to decide if you want to be one of the guys. If you want to be one of the guys, let's just stop this. Let's stop the charade. Let's stop the nonsense. Let's stop the superstar talk. Let's stop all that. You could just be one of the guys. You can float. You can be Aaron Gordon plus. You can be a very, very rich man's Aaron Gordon. You can be that guy. You can be that guy That some nights we get 25, some nights we get 12. We don't know. Some nights we get 8 and good defense. Some nights we get 30 and we get, okay defense. Some nights you're going to be a playmaker. Sometimes you're going to be a rebounder. You could be that guy. You could be Rasheed Wallace, maybe a career, 15, 16 point per game type of guy. You could be that guy. We don't have to make you into a 25 point per game megastar. You could be a guy who kind of floats in and out of quarters. You can be a guy who kind of picks and chooses spots. You can be a guy who lets other people eat. You can have happy teammates. But I'm going to tell you this. You could also choose to go the other way. And I really, really hope you do. As a very, very big fan of yours, I really hope you do. I hope you go the other way. I hope you go the way of greatness. I hope you go the way of legacy. I hope you go the way of dog. Because you said you were a dog. And I trust you when you say that you're a dog. You're a killer. We've seen it. We've seen it in the fourth quarter against Giannis, but we definitely don't see it in the fourth quarter against Philly in March. Why? Why dial in and out? Be that player that your teammates revere, but also fear. Be the team. One thing that I really just it hit me hard. Michael Jordan talking about Scottie Pippen taking that off season to enjoy his summer and rehabbing on company time. He talked about the Bulls being 4-4. And you know what he said? He said, can't let these teams win because they're building confidence. And you can't let these teams build confidence. That's the right attitude. When you let teams beat you, shut you down for an entire quarter, they're building confidence. It's humiliating. Nobody should be able to stop you. When you get the ball on the block, you need to make one turn and attack the rim. When you get a defensive matchup, I want to see you coast. I want to see you dog. You need to attack. You need to kill it. You can't have quarters where you take 2 shots. You're simply too talented and too good. You certainly cannot be coasting in and out of games. You certainly cannot be catching the basketball and not even looking to score. You must always be a threat to score. I don't care if you eventually make the pass 25 times out of 25. You must look to score. You must make the defense actually stop you. But you're not making the defense stop you. You're stopping yourself. You're picking and choosing. You're like, oh, this is the quarter where I'm going to score 10. This is the quarter where I'm not going to score at all. Why? Why are you letting the defense off the hook? That's why people call you soft. I'm going to tell you the truth. I've talked to a lot of Raptor fans who disagree with my take on Scottie Barnes. I keep saying he's a superstar. People call him soft. People call him weak. People call him, a number 2, a number 3, a number 4. When you got Aaron Gordon comparing himself to you, saying that's me, and you got Magic Johnson comparing himself to you, you're a confusing ass prospect. You got Draymond Green comparing himself to you, and Magic Johnson comparing himself to you. You got Kevin Durant offering you praise. You got your head coach saying you're going to be the face of the league. You got half the fan base saying that they would trade you for a 31-year-old Giannis. Nah. So you know what? Make the decision, but make it quick, because I'm honestly sick and tired of this. I'm sick and tired of this. Make the decision. You can let everybody else eat, but you must eat first. You must be the big dog. Once you realize that, your whole game is going to change. When you realize that you attacking makes Jamal Shedd's life easier, you will see the difference. When you realize, look at what you're doing for the defense. I mean, if you want a case, look at what you've done for the defense. You decided that on a team full of non-defenders, weak defenders, rookies, that you were going to take that assignment on a night-to-night basis, that there was every single night it was going to be come rain, come shine, that you were bringing it defensively every single night. And you have. And look at what's happened to your team's defense. Now, what would happen if you did the exact same thing on offense? What would happen? What if you decided every single night, doesn't matter if it's the Phoenix Suns, doesn't matter if it's the Philadelphia 76ers, doesn't matter if it's the Charlotte Hornets, that you were not going to kind of coast in and out of games, that you were going to go and attack every single night until they stopped you? What would happen to your team's offense? Well, your team's defense would remain top 10, and your team's offense would also go into top 10. You got some big dogs around you right now. You got some scorers, some bucket getters. You got a good coach. You got some rookies who are hungry. You got a selfless culture. This entire team's been built in your identity. You wanted to play selfless basketball. You were tired of, a lot of the shit that was going on behind the scenes a couple years ago. So they packed them up. They sent them out. They built this whole thing around you. This whole thing doesn't work if you don't become a superstar. I'll tell you right now, Scottie Barnes, if you want a championship in your entire life, you are going to have to morph yourself into a player that is uncomfortably good. You're going to have to morph yourself into baby Jokic. You're going to have to morph yourself into some sort of cross between baby Jokic and baby Kawhi. You're going to have to attack the shit out of the rim. You're going to have to be a much, much better shooter. You're going to have to get that loose ass handle under control because you lose that basketball way too often. You're going to have to be a lot more measured with your approach. You're going to have to change your mental because you know what? That's the one thing I'll say is I don't think you're always clear mentally. I don't think you approach every single game the right way. I think sometimes you're very locked in and you're dialed in. It's very obvious to everybody. And that's, I think, the most frustrating thing for fans. I think most fans are frustrated by you, not because you're not a great player, but because we see how much greater you can be than what you are. And I think that's somewhat, maybe tough love. Maybe that's the truth. But maybe that is the truth. That a guy who can put up 19 points in a quarter shouldn't be scoring 2 points against the Charlotte Hornets. That probably shouldn't happen because that's the model, You're setting a model for your team. Everyone's looking up to you now. The next rookie that comes in, the 7th overall pick, 8th overall pick, maybe even the 3rd overall pick, he's going to look to you. What do you want to set the example? Do you want to be the take charge? This is how we play Toronto Raptors basketball. We attack, we defend, we're consistent. Or do you want to be like, I don't know, who wants to score tonight? That's not how teams work. That's not how any great team works. Magic led, Jordan led, Kobe led, Durant led, Steph led. I mean, literally, all your favorite players of all time have the same approach to the game. You don't have that approach yet, but you're 23 years old and you're going to turn 24 in like 2-3 months. I really hope between now and next year, you lock in because this is the first off season where you are really, really looking at you're the guy. Like last off season, I realized you end the season as you're the guy, but you didn't really like spend the whole season as the guy. This year, you spent the entire season as your team's best player and you missed in the playoffs. And I feel like that's hopefully going to reveal something about you to all of us. And if you come back next year and you're still a 26% 3-point shooter and you're still kind of down in and out of games, I'm going to tell you the truth. The superstar stuff is going to stop for me 100%. I'm going to still say you're a great player. You're still going to be my favorite player. But I'm going to stop talking about you as a superstar because in order to enter the conversation for superstar, you got a dog. You got to be a dog. You got to do it every single night. Superstars do it every single night. And you got to do it every single night if you're going to get that tag from any of us anymore. So next year, the goal is to win, not to develop, is to win. And I believe in my heart of hearts, I do believe that you are going to take this challenge. Not because I'm saying it, but because you're already going to do it. And me saying this right now is only going to make me look like a genius in 3 months. But I really do believe that this summer is going to be the biggest summer of your life. That this summer you could be that bucket getter. You could get really comfortable in the mid-range. You can get really comfortable on the turnaround. You can get your balance and coordination right. That you can get that jump shot right. That you can get your body right. Now that you figured out your ankles, thank God, finally you figured out the ankles and you're not turning your ankle every 2 games. Hopefully you can attack the rim with a little bit more consistency. You figured out the defense. You figured out the angles. You figured out how to trust your length. I think a lot of shit has been figured out this past year amidst the shooting struggles. Get that jump shot on lock. You got this. You getting the free throws down right. You finally figuring out how to bait some calls. Figure out how to bait some more. But you know what? I think you're going to do it. I think you're going to be all NBA next year. I hope for my sake and the fans' sake and your sake that I'm right. And I'm just say this as a sort of final note. It took a selfless player to agree to do this in a year that meant so much for your numbers, right? It does. Because if I approach a player and he's got Supermax on the line and I say, we're going to rebuild with a whole bunch of rookies, I'm going to do this whole scheme thing, and we're not really trying to win, but we're trying to develop, you already know what's up. You already know that you're not making all NBA, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with this. It does take a selfless leader to agree to this. He is a very selfless player. I hope he gets a little bit more selfish next year. That's all I'm going to say. Let's get to the film breakdown. We got to talk about the film breakdown because this shit was interesting. Okay. So let's go all the way to the back. All right. This is how the Raptors start out the second half. I mean, I just said it, business, right? Look at this move by Jacoby Walter. Okay. Now, this is very interesting. Frame this move in your mind. Now, he picks up a foul. He draws a foul on a Dembona here, but okay. Scottie Barnes. Very similar move. This one, completely different. Look at this play by Jamal Shed. In fact, look at this entire play for the Raptors. It's just beautiful basketball. Overall, this is ethical hoops 101. Moves the ball to Orlando Robinson. We get a pump fake. This defender flies into the heavens. Now, what's the right move here? Yup. Now, what's the right move here? Anybody know? Is it to take the shot? Or is it to pass up a good shot for a great shot? What is a pump fake? A shot not taken. Boom. Perfect. Perfect ethical basketball. This is how you play basketball. 100% if you're a kid and you're trying to figure out how to play basketball, that's basketball. 100%. Japjeet Singh saying pass to Jacoby. Correct. He is a better three-point shooter than you right now. So yes, pass it up. Vince Carter on Scottie Barnes in the middle of the broadcast said, I alluded to it earlier, I believe Scottie Barnes could be like Jokic. He can stuff the stat sheet. He can get you close to a triple-double. He said that. Showing some love. Here, look at this. That wasn't very Jokic like. That was a little bit more like Magic. Look at this. Little Statue of Liberty fake out. Draws two defenders. Gives RJ Barrett the easiest 2 points he's going to get all night. Going to his left hand. I would like to see RJ finish with the right there. There's really no need to go around to the other hand, but whatever. Okay. Now, personally, I don't know about y'all, but I get kind of sick and tired of the Raptors broadcasters harping on Scottie Barnes complaining about calls. I'm not a fan of players staying on the defensive end, kind of coasting it on the defensive end and complaining about a call. But is this a foul or is this not a foul? I slowed this down heavily to explain why it is a foul. First of all, you cannot put both hands on the defender if you're Justin Edwards. He has both hands on the defender. He has one hand on his left arm. He has the other hand on his hip. You cannot guide a player. The second thing you can't do is as the player is trying to clear your hand off of him, you basically pushing him out of bounds. This is a foul, right? I'm not losing my mind. This is obviously a foul. Now, Scottie Barnes attempts this wild ass shot behind the backboard, and this referee is just sitting there like staring. And I think it's his stupid ass face that had Scottie a little upset because that ref looks so like, were you? And it's just like, my God, man, like, shut up. Like, you got to blow the whistle on that. Like, that's an all-star player going up against who the hell is Justin Edwards. And it's a clear foul. And the guy's falling out of bounds. And Scottie embellished it a little bit, but I mean, he had really nowhere to go. And you have both hands on him, and you're reaching and you're pushing, and that's not a foul. That's crazy. Okay. I know this is a miss, but look at this play from Jonathan Mobo and think back to the last two plays that you saw from Jacoby Walter and Scottie Barnes, those little footstep. Look at this. And tell me if this is not a very similar move. Look at that. The Raptors work on this shit all the time. They work on one-on-one drills, 3-on-3 drills. They work on finishing drills. Darko works with these guys. Jama works with these guys. Evo works with these guys. Like, they are really locked into making these guys better finishers. Emmanuel quickly does this shit all the time. Okay. One of my favorite plays. Look at this. Head fake, little shot fake there, using the gravity as a shooter. Defender doesn't bite. You drive, paint touch, see the help, see the clock. It's at 7 seconds. See a gap, make the shot. If he can figure that out, oh my God. Like, the first thing as a shooter that you need to figure out in the NBA is, what do you do when they run you off the line? 1 dribble, sidestep. 2 dribble, pull up. 3 dribble, get into the paint, turn around. There's a lot of counters to teams running you off the line, but when a team runs you off the line, there's a momentary advantage of 5-on-4 for the offense. That's why shooters are so important. Jamison Battle, Jacoby Walter in theory, Gradey Dick even right now, Emmanuel Quickly. Yeah, these are all shooters. These are all shooters who could potentially play rotation minutes for you next year. Even Scottie, in the long mid-range can potentially attract, a closeout that's a little uncontested or, a little bit haphazard. So you need to learn how to attack closeouts, especially ones that are not correct closeouts. Okay? So that was a great play by him. All right. Now, albeit a very positive night for RJ Barrett, it's this sequence that kind of gives you pause and say, what does he need to fix in order to stop this from happening? Because it feels like it happens 2, 3, 4 times a game where he'll drive in, head down, drive into some help, and he's going to get blocked. Now, here he's getting blocked by a wing. He'll pass it out to Ochai Agbaji, who passes it out to Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes, once again, pump fake. What's a shot? Shot not take. What's a shot fake? A shot not taken. Now here, what I say, learn to attack the closeout. Now here, Scottie Barnes, perfect, makes a good pass to RJ Barrett. But here, now you have Adem Bona waiting, and he's able to just take this. Now, look at where RJ is finishing. He's below the rim, right? He's not explosive, which I think is a problem. He's also very predictable because he goes back to that left hand, and that's a tendency. Now here, the left hand is probably preferable, but even when it's not preferable, he tends to go back to the left hand, which is a problem because when shot blockers know that you're a left-handed finisher, they can always attack your left hand. And, watching The Last Dance was kind of interesting because you really didn't know which hand Michael Jordan was going to finish with ever. Now, RJ Barrett is not Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or any of those players. Vertically, athletically, as a game, nothing. But he needs to figure out how to get around this problem of being a below the rim finisher because, again, this is an issue. This is an issue that often plagues undersized guards. But, you're strong enough, big enough that you should be able to figure out the angles. And my advice here, not that RJ Barrett is ever going to listen to my advice, will be to watch a lot of Paul Pierce tape. He was also a very somewhat slow, not very bursty guy, but he just got by on craft. And I think you maybe have to figure out pump fakes. You have to figure out, a lot of that stuff. I just feel a lot of the stuff that you were able to do at the high school level just isn't going to work. He needs more length. And I think 6 years in, RJ is still trying to figure that out. So that's tough. Okay. This is a good idea for RJ Barrett on the break. I understand what he's doing, and I appreciate that he's about to pass. Now, look at what happens here. He's probably scanning the court right now and is assuming that Orlando Robinson is going to beat his defender up the court. Now, gets the ball here. What is the right pass? The right pass right now is look left and pass over the defender to Ochai because Ochai's got inside position. The other right pass would be probably a Euro step, but because RJ is on the right side of the court, which we all know he's a left-handed finisher, and the defender is sort of cutting off his left hand, right? Because if the defender was cheating, right? If the defender was kind of cheating the other way, RJ would just swipe middle. But because the defender is cutting off middle, he's forcing him to make a right-handed layup, which I'm like, let's be real. He can dunk this. Okay, he could dunk this. But instead, the situation is going to force him to lose his mind, and he's going to make neither the good decision or the great decision, and he's going to make a terrible decision, which is he's going to throw the ball away. Now, again, need to figure out how to not do this. Now, the game was over at this point. I really don't care. The turnover is the turnover, but you do this in a playoff game, and I'm going to be like screaming. So now, this was probably one of my funniest plays. Okay. Jamal Shed hits the three. And did you catch this? Did you catch this? Watch this real slow. Hey, Jamal Shed with the Michael Jordan shrug. Now, I don't care. You are not going to get me off my soapbox. I don't care if he was shrugging at the coaches. I don't care if he was shrugging at a fan. I don't care what happened. What I know is number 23, who's not a good shooter, made a jump shot from three and shrugged his shoulders wearing a red and black jersey. That's Michael Jordan right there. 6 foot Michael Jordan. Let's do it. I just watched The Last Dance. I'm all juiced up. Great. Love it. Okay. Now, watch this. Watch this great ATO. Watch this great ATO. Now, I heard from some dummies that Darko Rajakovic can't coach X's and O's. Watch this. Look. Watch Jonathan Mobo this whole time. Watch the Masked Crusader. This is a set play. This is a beautiful set play. And the Sixers cover this horribly. Most teams will blow this shit up. That's a great play. It's a great play. All right. Now, this is my play of the night. I am going to make a habit of trying to do my play for the play of the night for the last 7 games of this game and it's weird to say that my play of the night came when the score was 99-115 and the game was already over is weird. But I like to commend winning habits when winning habits exhibit themselves. Watch Jacoby Walter on this entire play because I'm pretty sure the broadcast did not bring this up. I could be wrong. I watched the game on mute. And I'm pretty sure that most of y'all didn't notice this, but check this out. Watch Jacoby Walter. He's in the middle of the paint right now. He sees this ball. It's going off. Okay. Now, there's 4 defenders and Jacoby Walter. Jonathan Mobo is not in a position to grab this rebound. Mobo, with the veteran move right in front of the referee, is holding his man, which probably nobody spotted in real time. This is why you got to break down the film. This is why you got to go real slow, okay? So he's holding number 65, so he can't get it, which allows Jacoby Walter to get into a jumping match. And Jacoby long as hell. And despite jumping after, he gets a hand on it. Now, this is lost. Off Toronto, this is lost. But Jacoby Walter has other plans. Now, that's not out of bounds. That bounced inbounds. The ref is aware of it. Jacoby manages to save this. Stays on balance. Doesn't fall over himself. Doesn't end up, knocking over somebody's beer. Continue to watch Jacoby Walter on the right side of your screen because this is about to get real interesting. Passes the ball to Jamal Shed. And now watch the right side of your screen. The player who vanished momentarily is going to have the basketball IQ, discipline, as well as just the intelligence to get back into this play, the commitment, because this game is over. You're not playing for anything. You're not a playoff team. You're nothing. This is pure hoop will. Okay, this is the will. Look at Jamal Shed. Heads up play. And Jacoby Walter, the guy who got the offensive rebound, the guy who dove for the basketball, the guy who dove out of bounds, is the same guy who relocates for the pop-up corner 3 with 11 on the clock. And you know what? Even if he didn't make this, I would have still rewarded this play of the night. But the fact that he made it, this is definitely my play of the night. I love this. I was so, impressed with Jacoby. Great play, man. All right. Now, in the final minutes of the game, we got Jamal Shed off the court, which meant we finally got what I have been begging for the last, I want to say 2 weeks, which is I want to see Jacoby Walter morph into a point guard. Again, it's a fascination of mine. I think the best way to develop any player is to play them at point. So I am very happy that Jacoby is learning how to navigate these positions. He's learning how to bring the ball up under duress. It's going to make his handle a lot tighter. But look at this little read here. It's not a big play. It's not some flashy play. It's a very simple play. But this is a play that happens in hundreds of, like, if there's 7 NBA games tonight, this happened 100 times tonight. And how you read out of these situations is going to determine your success as a lead initiator, but which I don't think Jacoby will ever be. But as a secondary playmaker, I think he definitely can be. And here he makes a great move. Now, Jonathan Mobo attacks here, but you know what? Could have easily passed out to AJ Lawson or Jamison Battle, who were wide open. Could have easily passed back to Jacoby Walter. This is how because you scrambled the defense. What happened here? They send 2 to the ball. It's a trap. You break the trap. Jonathan Mobo is here. He's got 2 defenders, 3 defenders, 4 defenders, 5 defenders converging on him because none of these defenders know what the fuck they're doing. Do you realize how open everybody is right now? Every single player on the court is open right now. Mobo is open. Battle's open. Literally everybody is open, which is great. That's what good offense is supposed to do. It's supposed to get people open. Now, again, a little bit more Jacoby Walter. Very simple stuff. Okay. This is not complicated shit. It's just growing stuff. Makes the left-handed pass to Jamison Battle. Battle is going to attack, forces the double, forces the defense to collapse middle, passes Jacoby Walter. No hesitation. What are we talking about? 0.5 basketball, 0.5 basketball. Catch, move, catch, move, catch, move. Either pass, shoot, dribble, or just 0.5 seconds. Less than 0.5 seconds, Jacoby is immediately making this beautiful drive. And what does he do? Now with the right hand, makes the pass. I love the dexterity. I love players who are ambidextrous with their passing. These are small nerdy things as a basketball nerd that I appreciate. And here he makes the right-handed pass to Jamison Battle, who misses it. And I don't care that he missed it because it was a wide open 3, and that was created not once, but twice by Jacoby Walter. So I hope that y'all have enjoyed this live stream. I genuinely hope that you guys will tune in for my PCL debate tomorrow night. I am going to spend the next, I want to say at least 2-3 hours preparing for my PCL debate because I am facing a very talented opponent. There's a super chat here. Would you trade Gradey plus a 2nd round pick to the Rockets for Reed plus a 1st round pick? What's the 1st round pick? Yeah, I probably would. Yeah, I probably would. I got to tell you, I may be misreading Reed Sheppard. I would need to know more about why his season has gone the way it's gone in Houston. I was very high on Reed Sheppard coming into the draft, but it's worth noting that, Gradey has a lot of the same strengths as Reed. I just think Reed handles and processes the game a lot better at this stage, but it's worth noting that he has struggled very much for the Rockets this year. Like, he has struggled tremendously for the Rockets. And again, Grady's like the bigger athlete. Like, he's 6'8". You're never going to make Reed Sheppard a 6'8" player. But yeah, it's something to think about. If it's a high 1st round pick, this is a no-brainer. If it's a mid 1st round pick or a, mid 20s pick, I guess I have to think about it a little bit. Reed is also on 1 more additional year on the rookie deal. I think that's worth noting. Rob, why would you be willing to trade Gradey? He looked very promising earlier in the season. So here's the thing. I'm not low on Gradey. I'm a little bit lower than I was earlier in the season. And please understand, this is not hating or whatever. This is something that really drove me crazy on playback stream today. And I was venting about it a little bit. Just because somebody disagrees with you on a particular basketball player, has a lower opinion or a higher opinion, doesn't mean that they're glazer, hater, nut hugger, or any of those, words. Like, it just might mean I have a different approach to building a team. I think Gradey is playable with Jacoby. I think he's very playable with Brandon Ingram. I think he's very playable with Scottie Barnes. I think the issue is compounded because you don't have great defense around him that it sort of exacerbates and maybe exposes him a little too much. Now, it's worth noting that Gradey hasn't played a lot of minutes since the Raptors turned their defense around, but he was a part of it. He was a part of, that 8, 9 game stretch where they were the best defense in the league. And he was playing 25, 26, 27 minutes a night for the best defense in the league for, mid January. I think it was January 13th to February 2nd. The Raptors were the best defense in the league. Someone fact check me on that. And since then, they've been top 10 defense, and a lot of it has been done without him. So I just need him to lock in defensively. I think, some of the shooting stuff, it would be a real game changer if he can get up to 38, 39, 40% three-point shooting. It hasn't come yet. The mid-range stuff is looking a lot better. I think the defense could come. He's got long arms. He's pretty positionally big. I think he can pop, but we're not trading away for nothing. I'm not suggesting dump him for a future first or something like that. No, like he's still a huge part of the future. He's still, a great dude. He seems like a great dude. Seems like everybody loves him. He's still very selfless. He's a player who can play with the basketball, without the basketball. His on-ball stuff is coming. I believe in him too. He am saying I believe in Gradey. I believe in him too. I believe in him too. I think what I need from Gradey this summer is weight room. I need him to lock himself into the weight room. I need him to get a lot more laterally quick. I need him to get a lot more tenacious defensively and active defensively. He has a wingspan. He doesn't often use it. I need him to get just a lot more mentally locked into these games. Like I need same thing with Scottie. It's like I need him to stop floating through these games. You just never know. It's like very Kinder Surprise, is my little nickname for him in my own head, because it's like you never know if you're going to get 6 points or 30 points from Gradey. It's like consistency is a really, really big part of it. If I'm a coach and I don't know if you're going to go 1 for 8 or you're going to go 4 for 8, I mean, everybody has 1 for 8 games, but if it's like that's your normal Tuesday, I'm going to tell you the truth. Like you're questionable to me. And, internal competition is good, right? It's great. Look at the Raptors with Fred VanVleet, DeLon Wright. It really, it was internal competition, battling up with, Kyle Lowry and Corey Joseph. Like you had 4 point guards, 4 legit NBA point guards on the same damn team, and Fred had to beat those guys out, and that pushed him. And you want that. So here, Gradey. I'll be honest. I don't think you're starting next year. So are you going to be the backup? Are you going to be the first wing off the bench? Well, Jacoby better defender. Ochai better defender. RJ is not a great defender, although I do appreciate his defensive effort lately. And IQ's not a great defender. So it's like if I'm thinking about pairing a wing off the bench, so let's say Brandon Ingram's the first guy that goes to the bench, or Scottie's the first guy that goes to the bench. Who's my first wing that I'm bringing in? Has to be a good defender. So are you willing to become the second wing off the bench? You were the Gatorade National Player of the Year. Step up, my boy. You got to step up. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at right now with Gradey. It's a matter of professional pride at this point. Your 13th overall pick, that doesn't mean much anymore, right? You form a Gatorade National Player of the Year. You're a 5-star recruit. You were very, very hyped. So, from my perspective, it's like we gotta get something more from you when you go 2 for 8. Right? It can't be all feast or famine. That's the cool thing about Scottie. It's the cool thing about someone like Jacoby is like if Jacoby shoots 1 for 8, he's still tenacious defensively. He's still crashing the glass. I really expected Gradey to be a much better rebounder than he's been. Again, I have a feeling that every issue I have with Gradey Dick stems from his lack of strength. So if everything is stemming from your lack of strength, and honestly, the other thing I would say is Gradey feels very heavy at the bottom. Like he feels very bottom heavy. His legs feel like very trunk like, not like it's an abnormal build for a basketball player. Y'all notice it? Kind of like fat calves, and like he just feels slow footed at times, right? If you want to get burstier, you're gonna have to tone that shit down, and you get a lot stronger in your upper body. I need to see Gradey in the gym. Like we're talking bench press every day. Get super strong. Get strong in your core, get strong in your upper body, and just get toned up. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah, but unlike Anunoby, the genetics are not there for like that explosive strength and lateral quickness. So it's like, yeah, calm down. Seeing Scottie be mediocre scorer to me says RJ cannot be expendable right now. Every team has a 20-point per game scorer, bro. Literally every single team has a 20-point per game scorer, 19, 20 points, whatever. Scottie's on track to score more points per 100 possessions, as I've said before, many times before, than Kawhi. So it can come, and I think it will come. And yes, Jacoby is surprisingly strong, stronger than Gradey. And you know what's the crazy thing is, I think he's going to get much, much stronger. You're going to see Jacoby next year is going to come in like beast. So that's the thing I'm going to say is like, it's a great problem to have if you're the Raptors. If both these cats come in and they both look like they deserve 25 minutes a night, that's great because that makes RJ potentially expendable. It might make Emmanuel quickly potentially expendable. It might just make you a really deep team. I mean, look at the OKC Thunder. How many players do they have that could probably play high rotation minutes for almost every single team in the league? This is a good problem to have. You want Jacoby to be a starting level player. You want Grady to be a starting level player. You want Jonathan Mobo or your seventh overall pick to, eighth overall pick, ninth overall pick, whatever, wherever we pick. You want that player to get NBA ready soon. You want Jamal Shad to push Emmanuel quickly. You want to get to a point where you're entering the fourth quarter, Emmanuel quickly has like a really bad game. And Darko Rakovic is like, all right, homie, sit down. Like you're gonna sit down and we're gonna ride, Jamal Shed in this quarter. We're gonna see what he can do. Like I've always believed that you build with depth, right? Like I don't really like shallow teams. The San Antonio Spurs were deep, right? Most of my favorite teams all time were very deep. So I mean, look at the Toronto Raptors, the championship run, right? The bench mob. That was a deep team. That was a deep team. There were things that you could go to Jakob Pertl that you couldn't go to with Jonas Valanciunas. Gives you lineup flexibility. You want to have diversity. People talk about diversity from, the ethnic perspective, gender perspective, age perspective. What about diversity of skill sets? You want diversity of skill sets. You don't want redundancy. You want diversity of skill sets, ideas. You want diversity of lineups. You want diversity of play styles. I want to be able to run fast. I also want to be able to slow it down. I want to be able to be a transition team, but I also want to be a half court scoring team. I want to be able to lock down defensively, but I also want to be able to, be quick and switch to the perimeter, which is why players like Scottie are such cheat codes and players like Jonathan Mobo are such cheat codes defensively because they can fit into everything. They can do everything. And yeah, I would like to see the Raptors get one more of those guys, like maybe a high end version of one of those guys, right? Defensively. I don't know if it's Jonathan Isaac or, if it's Asar Thompson. I don't know what it is. But, watching Asar Thompson today, it was very impressive. Very impressive. The Raptors need one more lengthy wing defender. I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know where they're going to find him. But I will tell you, I was talking about this earlier with a friend of mine that I really think that you're going to see the best version of Brandon Ingram with this team if he stays healthy. The way they're going to use him off the ball, I think you're really going to find like the most efficient version of BI because I don't think he's ever played like super efficient basketball before. But if you can make RJ more efficient and you can make IQ more efficient, you can make Scottie more efficient. If you can make these guys more efficient, I really believe that you can make anybody more efficient. Japjeet saying Colin Murray Boyles. That could be great. Usman Jang. I haven't watched too much Usman Jang since he got into the league. I'm gonna have to lock in on that for sure. Anyways, I'll talk to y'all later. Enjoy. Thank you guys for bearing with the late live. The live was late because I was on the playback stream with Jordan and a whole bunch of people talking about the Pistons versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. We browsed around a little bit, had a huge pissing match about God knows nothing. But yeah. And, thank you all for, staying up with us. 1 a.m., 250, 280 is very, very generous. Thank you for your time, for your support. And what time tomorrow on PC? Tomorrow, I believe my debate is at 8 o'clock. You can check Players Choice socials. It is, and if you follow us on Instagram or X, I will definitely post about it there. I believe it will be 8 o'clock. You definitely don't, bro. Don't waste your time. It's so stupid. It's so stupid, man. I promise you, it is the dumbest shit on earth. Like, it's making me question, like, whether I'm doing this wrong. Am I the wrong person? Are they the wrong audience? It kind of makes you second guess your sanity when everyone's telling you you're wrong and you know 100% you're right. It's weird. It's not worth it. Daryl, I promise you it's not worth it. It's the dumbest shit on earth. I was screaming like, ugh. Listen to Rob. It was rough. Thanks, Tetrahedron, for the cosign there. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Trust me. It's just, you know what? The thing I'll say is I had gotten to a point like a few months ago where I felt like I wasn't going to respond to the noise. And then people keep like sort of taking advantage of it, and they just say stuff about you that isn't objectively true. And then, you listen to Napoleon Hill or you listen to some Stoic philosophy, and it says, "Well, why do you care what anyone says about you?" And then you start seeing it float more and more, and it's just like it's almost like borderline abusive. You know, I'll share something with y'all. So somebody went on playback, I want to say like 5, 6 months ago, with my handle. So my name, as you all know, there's a lot of impersonators out there. Playback allows you to pick whatever name you want, make accounts, whatever. And somebody went on with Pensare Basketball, and they went on to, I think, Lowe's room or somebody else's room, and they used the N word. Now, it was not me, and I can confirm that. And, PC confirmed that when the allegation came up. But since then, everyone's been everyone's been calling me, Pensar Basketball, Pen Slur. They've been calling me Pen Slur. They call me N-word sorry basketball. As someone who's never used that word in my entire life, not even in the shower, not even in private, never, ever. It's never left my mouth. That's insulting as fuck. As someone who has always considered himself B1 as hell my whole life, to have a whole bunch of people telling you that you're racist, that shit, like, they tell you to get tough skin, whatever, but when it's so objectively untrue, but when it's said by so many people, remember what I said about the self-looking glass, right? If everybody around you is saying you are this thing, you have to fight so hard to remind yourself, no, you're not. You're not this person. You're not this person who said this. That was a complete imposter who came in and said that thing about you. It's tough. I'm not bitching about it. I'm not crying about it. I'm tough. I'm tougher than that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure if somebody said something about you that wasn't true 5,000 times, continued to repeat it every single time you were on a platform, had a whole bunch of other people repeating it and acting like it was true, you might crash out once in a while too. I want to say that's big. That's big right there. Scottie Barnes did donate $50,000 to a school that, in part, is devoted to kids with autism. And I just want to say, as someone who's on the spectrum, like, that was a big move, man. That was a really big move of him. And I'm gonna say this, like, that whole tough talk thing with Scotty and, lock in, be a star, be a superstar, whatever. The one thing I'll always say is that I am insanely proud that this is my franchise player, that this is the franchise player for the city that I'm in, the team that I root for. This is our franchise player. This dude who works hard, who works for his community, loves his family, loves his teammates, stands on business, doesn't back down from anybody, treats people with respect, treats his coaches with respect. Class act, man. 100% grades. Gem of a human being. Every story you ever heard about Scottie Barnes behind the scenes, trust me, everything you see of him on the court, he's even better off the court. Like, he's like, again, I've heard hundreds of stories over the last 5, 6 years, 7 years about him. Nothing negative. Just a good person, loves his teammates, simple, you know, uh, doesn't hate on anybody, doesn't spend time engaging with the negativity, doesn't spend time, tearing people down, always trying to build everybody up, always wants to see everybody happy. That's the weirdest thing too. Where, you hear people say this stuff about him. He's soft. He's this. He's that. That shit bothers me more than the allegations against me, because it's so objectively not true. It's so stupidly not true. And I hope that, over some period of time, as the shit plays out, you find out who people are, right? Rise over run. Over some period of time, people will show you who they are. And I think Toronto, whether you wanted him, didn't want him, whether you think he's a superstar, not going to be a superstar, whatever, I'll remind you, there's a lot of people in this city that didn't want Kyle Lowry as a superstar. And that opinion changed. That opinion changed. So that's what I'll say. Lock in Scottie, lock in Pensare Basketball Chat. Let's get it. And, shout outs to March Madness. I apologize for not talking about those games today. Michigan State did get packed up and sent home. Jahmai Broome is freaking awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We're very impressed with him. Would the Raptors consider trading back into the first round, maybe picking up Jahmai Broome? He reminds me of one of my favorite players, actually. He does. He's so good. So yeah, we'll talk about that at some point when we talk about when we discuss Final Four preview. We'll definitely talk about Jahmai Broome and what he did today. Shout outs to Auburn and shout outs to the Houston Cougars, who are going back to the Final Four. And Jamal Shedd's probably very happy right now because his alma mater is going back to the Final Four. That's pretty cool. And they've never, if I recall correctly, I don't think Houston has ever won a national championship. This is going to be very, very big for them. So it's going to be Duke versus Florida. No, Duke versus Houston. And then I'm pretty sure it's Duke versus Houston and then Florida versus Auburn. So that it's going to be very, very interesting Final Four. I think most people are probably picking Duke to come out of this, but we'll see. Cooper Flight's got two games left. Cooper, come on, and Con. Don't think about that too much. Don't think about those names too much. Cooper, Con, and Kaman have a chance. Have a chance, right? They have a chance to make really history. They'd be one of the youngest teams, or one of the youngest starting lineups to ever win a national championship. Most teams that win national championships are very old. And for them to do it, starting three freshmen, not only starting three freshmen, playing three freshmen as much as they do, playing a fourth freshman off the bench, like, man, that would be very, very impressive. So yeah. And I mean, for Duke and for a school that has that type of storied legacy, Cooper would cement himself as a college legend. Winning, I think I left this part out of my Scottie diatribe. Like, winning can literally solve so many things when it comes to legacy, right? Like, you could quite literally cement yourself in that, that highlight package they show of March Madness, or even that highlight package they show of the NBA, the great shots, the Magic Johnson, the Michael Jordan, winning puts you in that. It cements your legacy. I feel like all the greats have to think about legacy. And, for Cooper Flag, he's 2 games away from legacy. Just like Carmelo Anthony in Syracuse. We still talk about Carmelo Anthony, Mike McNamara, Hakeem Warwick. We still talk about that team winning a national championship in 2002, 2003. We talk about that because winning cements your place in history. So anyways, I'll talk to y'all later. Have a great one. Enjoy your night.